Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode. This is your host, Davey Kim. Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's an absolute pleasure. Happy to be joining you today.
I understand you are another Tracey established the clothing bank together, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
How did the two Tracey meet first, and how did you come up with the business idea? And how long did it take for you to agree on the plan and decide to kickstart the business operation?
Yes, that's a good question. So the clothing bank was founded in February 2010, and Tracey and I had met through a mutual friend. So what we found is when we had social gatherings, we always kind of connected. We always ended up sitting together and chatting. And then was doing a lot of research around empowerment, especially with women. So I'd run an organization, a weaving business where we used to hand make rugs. And I was quite young then, I was about 30, and I couldn't make it work. I didn't have the skills, actually. Now that I know that now, I didn't have the skills to make this successful. And that's when I really fell in love with working with a whole lot of unemployed women. So the clothing bank was founded in February 2010. So Tracey and I met through our mutual friends, and we would always connect. We would always find ourselves together at social gatherings, discussing all kinds of things. And I had been doing a lot of research because I really had fallen in love with working with women. And in a South African context, we grew up under apartheid, so we were all lived in little bubbles. And in about 2004, I started a business making hand-woven rugs with weavers. So I was struggling to make it financially viable, this particular project. So I had to go back into the workplace. And when I went back into the workplace, I needed to find opportunities for these women to find other jobs. And then I realized there were absolutely no jobs out there. So unemployment was a structural problem in this country. So there were no skills, the skills were inadequate. So I started to collect clothing so they could go for job interviews. So at least have some decent attire to go and have a job interview, and giving people some skills on how to be interviewed. And it was so frustrating because there just weren't that many jobs to go for interviews to. And then I realized while I was collecting the clothing, there was this huge amount of excess stock in the retail supply chain. I was overwhelmed by the amount of clothing that I was able to collect. And I started to look for ideas around how we could use this clothing as a tool to teach unemployed South Africans how to run businesses. And that is when I started to approach Tracey Chambers. And she had gone on a sabbatical. And she had a job where she's a chartered accountant, and she ran the finances for one of the major South African retailers. And she had the skills that I didn't have. She understood business, she understood operations, she understood systems. So when we put our heads together, we came up with the concept of the clothing bank. And the first port of call was to approach the retailer that she had been working for and ask them if they could give us their excess stock. And that's when it's so important not to burn any bridges, because the relationship that she had had with them was a strong relationship. And they were very happy to give us that excess stock because they knew that Tracey would do what we said we were going to do would be delivered. So they were the first major retailer to come on board and give us all of their excess stock. So one of the benefits of being in the South African environment is that businesses all need to adhere to a broad-based Black Economic Empowerment scorecard. And that does give you the nudge to do the right thing. And all the merchandise that we get is all surplus quality stock. So this is product that has been not sold, maybe end of sale merchandise or customer returns, and there's maybe something slightly wrong, like a button missing, but this is really valuable quality merchandise that the retailers donate to us, and then we can use this as the income generating component of our enterprise development program. And the program itself is very holistic. So our ecosystem is so important. So we have created an ecosystem that is a safe space for people to come, particularly women, to come, heal, learn, and grow. The other component that is vital is relevant skills transfer. So our 2-year training focuses on business, finance, and life skills. It's very holistic and it's relevant. So whatever you're learning in the classroom, you can implement straight into your business. And the third component is real income generation. So people are earning a living wage through this program.
In the beginning, when you just started a business, I can imagine for every startup, it is quite difficult to find the employee, right? So how did you find the employee in the beginning? Was it easy, or Did they ask you, I mean, if you had an investor or money to pay their salary?
Yes, so in the beginning, I had continued to work part time. I was earning a small income, and Tracey actually put in some funding, in personal funding, into the organization to kickstart us.
Mhm.
And then very quickly, we started to generate an income from the sale of the clothing, because we are selling the clothing at a very reduced rate to the women. And the city of Cape Town gave us free space. So I think that was key to helping us kickstart, is that we had free premises to operate from. And, you know, rentals can be so expensive. So that free space, great product from a retailer, which we were able to then sell at a very reduced rate. That started to help us become self-funded in the early stages. Partly self-funded.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, it was my next question, but you already answered. Yeah. Clothing bank is not for profit business, right? Social venture.
That's right. Yes.
And so I'm not familiar with the not for profit business model. But when you say investor, what is their benefit? Do they get any return at the end of the day or any benefit, financial or non-financial benefit?
So we work mostly with impact investors, but I would say it's more grant funding that we get.
Grants
And we are currently about 80% self-funded.
from the operation.
That's right. So
Okay,
currently
great.
we've got 9 retailers now. Over the last 10 years, we've developed to having 9 retailers,
Mhm.
and we receive about 160,000 units a month of stock, of quality stock. So there's a lot of product out there in that retail supply chain that can really be used to empower unemployed South Africans.
Yeah.
And our unemployment crisis is sitting at about 29%. Youth is sitting at 55% unemployment. So self-employment is the solution to our crisis. The way we're going to tackle inequality is in the informal sector. And that's how we break the cycle of poverty. Because the very first thing that mums and dads do is focus, when they're earning an income, is focus on their children's education.
Can you please tell us how Clothing Bank works? Can you walk me through the step by step?
Yes, sure. So the Clothing Bank, we call ourselves a social enterprise, and we have 5 branches in South Africa. So it's Cape Town, Joburg, Durban, East London, and Paarl. And we can support up to 1,000 women a year through that program. And it is a 2-year holistic program. So year 1, we focus a lot on business, finance, and life skills. It's kind of preparing everybody for the next step, which is the year 2 training program. So year 1 is modular based. It's quite just a little taste of these subjects. We focus a lot on record keeping in the first year, and we provide extra support through mentoring and then further support through coaching. So we separate the mentoring from the coaching, because the mentoring is really business focused, whereas the coaching is all about personal development and understanding what our barriers are. Because, you know, we all tell ourselves negative things like, I'm not good enough. I didn't manage to finish school. I don't have a tertiary education. I don't have experience. All these things we tell ourselves. The coaches help break all that down. So it's a very, very powerful support program. And then in year 2, we do a program called Informal Small Business Practice. And in the South African context, it's a level 3 qualification, which means it's equivalent to a grade 11, but it's really focused on running businesses in the informal sector. And at graduation ceremony after 2 years, when you speak to all of our traders and ask them what components of the program do they find the most beneficial, they always say ISBP and coaching. Those are the 2 that gets repeated every single time with the graduates. So the coaching is done in a group sessions of 7 women that are together in a group, and they get allocated a life coach who is a professional life coach. And you just see that sisterhood developing. The ecosystem is really about change. It's around moving from being stuck in dependency to becoming independent with dignity.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Yeah. There is a popular argument about always about charity donation. People argue that if we just give money or for free, then it doesn't solve the problem. Actually, it aggravates the issue because they become more and more dependent on that donation and charity, right?
Absolutely.
So I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So fortunately, about 8 years ago, we met a woman called Vivian Schultz. She's a South African woman who's currently living in Lesotho. And she's developed a methodology called the A to B movement. And actually, currently, we're busy creating a whole lot of video clips on this methodology, which we'll be able to share. And her methodology explained to us that we were part of the problem when we first started the Clothing Bank, because we were actually disempowering people. We were basically saying, oh, you know what? Rescuing everybody, saying, I know your life is hard, I'll fix it for you. And we weren't, there was challenges in the beginning. And then we started to realize, no, we've got to build a program that has I can moments, which creates self-esteem, creates opportunities for self-awareness, growth. It's all about growth and independence. It's a
Yes.
very, very powerful program, that A to B movement.
Yes. A recovery of hope and confidence.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Hearing what you just explained about how it works, how clothing bank works, I came to have questions. I mean, giving the women, I mean, I don't know how you call them, the beneficiary or, I mean, the member, giving a 2-year training, it's very good idea and consistent, long-term building and transformation of the people as you just described. But what if some woman and a single mom is unemployed, they don't have a job, they need to make money to feed take care of their kids. What if they need a job immediately? They cannot wait for 2 years going through the 2-year training program.
Okay, so that's good. Sorry, I didn't explain it properly. So the 2-year training program runs concurrently with them trading. So our recruitment process is we take in 5 intakes in a year. We invite people to open days, which is a big presentation around the program. Then we workshop with people to understand if they're really ready for this opportunity. You need to be committed. Then everybody volunteers with us for 2 days a week for a month. That just orientates everybody into the program. They get to know us, we get to know them, they get to meet other traders who are maybe in the second year of the program, so they can learn from other people. We then take them into a 2-week full-time training program after the month volunteering, and that's focused on basic business skills. After those 2 weeks, they're allocated a tranche of stock valued at 750 Rand. So they will come in and they can select their own stock because we have big warehouses. They don't have to pay for the goods immediately because we need to give them a kickstart. So it's almost like an interest-free loan.
Mm-hmm.
So within 6 weeks of joining the clothing bank, people are trading.
Okay.
So the program is quite full. So one day a week you're in class training. One day a week you'll get coaching or mentoring alternative weeks. And one day a week you do need to work in the facility. It's kind of your give back day, and that helps us process stock. So when people are helping us process stock, it also keeps us connected to people. It keeps people excited about the product that's coming through. It's a safe space. It's an ecosystem where people are connecting, and there's high energy. And so the workday is quite important because it keeps that energy flowing. So yes, so people are earning an income during the 2-year program.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm looking at the prospectus. I mean, I got somewhere from the website about the clothing bank. There is a couple of things I understand a little bit. Which I don't understand. So talk about the scorecard point, BB triple BEE, BBBEE point, and I mean I don't know what it means. And then ownership structure, broad-based black share ownership structure. What does that mean?
So with the broad-based Black economic empowerment, that has been brought around as a government initiative to level the playing field. So we need to start bringing Black people into the economy,
I see.
into business, so we need to focus on that. So all South African companies need to adhere to a scorecard. They need to develop their scorecards so that they have a diverse staff memberships, diverse. They have part Black ownership in their businesses, and that you're developing enterprise development. So our kind of what we're doing is we're doing the enterprise development component of the BEE scorecard. So the BEE scorecard talks to ownership of businesses. It talks to employment equity.
Okay.
It talks to supplier development. So if you're a big retailer, are part of your suppliers are part of those businesses Black owned. It talks to enterprise development, which is small Black owned or medium or even large Black owned businesses. And it talks to socio-economic development, which is more perhaps the CSI, the charity component, but not completely charity. It must be economic development in some way.
The retail partner can tick the many box on the scorecard then, right? Is that correct to say that?
They're mostly ticking the enterprise development box.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I must say the BE scorecard is a nudge. Sometimes people need to be nudged to do the right thing.
Right.
But if that scorecard disappeared, I would be very surprised if we stopped getting the stock, because the retail partners feel so connected to the program.
Right.
They are, this program would be nowhere without them. It would not
Yes.
succeed.
Yes,
So
understand.
they are very, very connected.
Yeah, actually, I have another question about your retail partners. When you already told me, I mean, try another Tracey, and you approached the first retailer, then they were very happy to collaborate with you and help you. That was very, very lucky. And you need to continue to approach the other retail partner again and again, right? Then how did you approach the other retail partners? And then did they love your idea from the beginning, same as the first partner? Or they didn't have? I think that's a quite hard thing for entrepreneur, for anyone to ask for money, ask for donation from scratch, right? Then you didn't have a fear of risk getting the door after door slammed in your face?
Yes. So it wasn't as easy to get the other 9 on board. The second and third retail partners were quite easy to get on board after Woolies. They came on board quite quickly. But it's taken me, for some of our retail partners, it's taken me almost 8 years of consistent connecting with them, telling them about our program, sharing with them, asking them for products.
That's a very long time, very long time, 8 years.
Not took that long.
Yeah.
But yes. So it was in varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of what one needs is to find champions that actually work your cause for you inside other organizations. And when you find those champions, that's when things get unlocked.
Yes.
So it's cause-driven people that love this program and are working with inside other organizations, and then they push your agenda for you, which is great.
Yeah, that's quite common for, any kind of business, because most of business and organization these days in the world is a structure and run same as a factory and military, right? So even though we know one person, very high-ranking management member, he cannot make a new decision overnight. Yes, so need to find the champion who can, support you and push you through you're the proposal all the way onto the top. Yeah.
Yes. I think sometimes when what you're doing is bigger than you, you don't feel so rejected. You don't take these things so personally, because what you're doing, the cause is way bigger than you.
Yep.
So, and then sometimes like success is almost like an unintended consequence of the focus of what you're trying to do. It's interesting.
Yep.
Everything that we're focusing on is the well-being of society. The international retailers that we've approached, we haven't had this success with.
Oh, that's the interesting part. What do you think? What is the reason behind that?
Partly because if you don't have a country, you don't have a company. So they want to develop the country so that they've also got a broader customer base that makes sense to them. The BE scorecard definitely gave them a nudge, whereas the international retailers can get around that in some ways.
I see. Okay, next question is, tell me about how company has grown for the past 10 years and how it is performing now in terms of annual sales, number of women, micro entrepreneurs, client, retail partner, etc., etc.
Yes, thanks. So in February 2010, we started off with 10 women, and since then we have had over 4,000 women come through our program in 10 years. We've now got the 5 branches. We've got 9 retail partners on board, and they're providing us with about 160,000 units of product a month. And last year alone, our micro traders, the women in the program, earned 40 million rands worth of profit in that business. So they can put a really decent markup on it, because being a non-for-profit, we just want to cover our expenses. And so we can sell the product back at very reduced prices. So it shows you that there's a high markup for them to put on the product. So it's a decent income. So we've grown exponentially over the last 10 years. However, having said that, we've kind of plateaued now because we have all the retailers on board. So we're kind of at maximum capacity. We can't really open a whole nother branch at this stage, but we're looking for other opportunities in some of the other provinces where we could provide product for women. They could purchase it online, because setting up warehouses and training facilities is very costly, and you have to be able to justify that. So we're looking at other ways now of being a little bit more adaptive, and figuring out how we could provide training online and access to stock and then ship it directly to people in more outlying areas. So the growth has been huge, and now we need to start becoming a little bit more innovative again.
I have another question about micro entrepreneur women who work with you. I mean, you told me that in the beginning they don't need to pay money to purchase clothing or product from you to start a business. That is, I think, very helpful to kickstart the business for them. But when they grow the business, if some women, and the micro entrepreneurs, they grow the business more quickly than others, and then they need to purchase a lot of clothing from you. Then what happened? You continue to give them product on credit, or do they have to purchase by paying money?
Yes, no, we only give a once-off kickstart.
Okay.
And then they get lots of support through the training programs of the financial and business training, and lots of support through the mentor. So it's just a once-off kickstart. Obviously, individuals might have a setback for maybe a personal reason, but we never ever do the loan again. But we might help in some other way.
Yeah, that actually it is my question, because when the business quickly grow, actually that's a paradox of the success growth. They need more and more working capital because they need to purchase the inventory in place, right?
Yes.
Then in that case, what happened to them? They have to find a way through that issue, go to the bank or the non-bank finance company, or do you have any program to support them?
So we only really find that sometimes happens with our graduates after the 2 program, and then we started creating a graduate support program. But to be completely honest, they can bootstrap this all themselves. They can. They save. They don't get themselves into debt. So yeah, they can do it. Also, they're individual traders. So most people can grow from a micro to maybe a small business, and then most of them are comfortable there in that space. 1 or 2 women out of a group might go on to do something even bigger. A few people do wonderful business programs, but in general, people carry on trading and they're quite comfortable with where they are. These are often moms, so they have the flexibility as a trader. So they enjoy that flexibility.
In prospectus and your website, I saw that you have launched other business than the clothing bank now, right? Like
Yes.
Appliance Bank. I saw there's something like education center project. So can you tell us about new activity, new initiative?
Yes. So with the Appliance Bank, one of the major retailers approached us a couple of years ago, and they started donating customer returned household appliances to us. So kettles and toasters and liquidizers and hair dryers, etc., mostly small household appliances. So we decided to experiment with recruiting unemployed South African men into the program, and then teaching them the skill to repair their appliances, as well as the business skills and the finance and the mentoring and the coaching. So that's been going for about 5 years now, and it's become a huge passion project for me, because South African men have often been very disenfranchised, and now they're able to restore their dignity, put food on the table, and really learn a skill that they can use anywhere. So a lot of them have actually started repairing businesses now. So they're also trading in the stock. It's hard for us to grow that program because I don't have as much supply as I do in the clothing bank. But it's a much smaller program. So we only take 2 intakes in Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban each year. But it's definitely helping the men run nice, small businesses and repairing stock from within their communities as well. So it's kind of 2 revenue streams there. It's the sale of the merchandise as well as repairing for people in their communities.
How about the education center project?
So our Grow Early Childhood Development is a micro franchise model. So we look at township early childhood development schools, like creches, and we recruit, and then we transform them into grow early childhood development centers. And this is quality education. This is all the equipment the teachers need. This is all the support the principals need to run a profitable early childhood development center, so that they are being able to pay the teachers a decent income. They're earning an income, they're getting children school ready. So we currently have 41 of these schools around the country, and we've developed an app, actually. There's an amazing app that helps the teachers manage their school. It's got a component for the parents. It's got a component for Grow, so that Grow can also monitor the ECD centers, and it helps mentor the principals. They can keep their records on this app. It's a very powerful tool, which we're really wanting to scale this project now.
It is really remarkable how quickly you, scale the business in many interesting way, many interesting business model.
Yes. Look, the Grow project is obviously heavily grant funded, because there's no income generation there. So we're hoping that this app is a tool that we could perhaps start monetizing. So your more affluent schools could also use this app.
Yes.
It's very conducive. It could be an international tool. So we're busy in the final stages of making this app without any gremlins in it, so that it's all working perfectly. And then we need to get a strategy to create awareness of this app out there.
I assume that the organization culture and regard the quality and mindset of the employee at a social venture or NPO is very different from that of a large corporation or the commercial business. What kind of quality in potential employee are you looking?
So it's obviously part of the selection in your recruiting. It's quite important to recruit people that have empathy, but also can deliver. And I always feel that what did Sigmund Freud say? He said, there's two cornerstones of humanity, and that is love and work. And work without love is empty, and love without work is incomplete. So if you're recruiting people, staff members that understand that, we have had the most incredible people coming, knocking on our door, offering their services, volunteering their time, and then eventually they become staff members. So we really do attract people with a heart that are very competent.
Personally, I believe that the people can learn much more from other people's failure and lesson learned, rather than from the other people's success story, because success is very complicated mathematical function, right? It also rely on luck and then support and right place and right timing. So what has been the biggest failure of you and so far, and what did you learn from that?
So I think if you're not failing, you're not moving.
Yeah, so, that's correct.
But one of the biggest projects that didn't work for us was actually recruiting youth.
Okay.
So we did a youth program in 2019, and we took in intakes of youth in Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban to do an experiment. And it was absolutely not successful at all. And I think partly because it's not, and youth don't necessarily aspire to be traders. They don't necessarily see the opportunity for what it is, whereas you've got moms who are in their 30s are going to see this opportunity. And also you underestimate the networks that young people have are much smaller. So we didn't realize that, with social media and all that, you think people are all connected, but actually the networks are quite small. Yes. So that was an interesting learning, working with youth.
Yep.
Yeah. Our sweet spot's definitely women of the age of 36, 38. That's most of the women in our program are that age, and that's successful. So the youth program was an issue, and then we've tried other micro franchise projects. We did a pizza business once, and that didn't work. We tried a coffee micro franchise, and that didn't work. So why the Clothing Bank and the Appliance Bank are successful is because they're not over-engineered. You're providing the skills for personal growth and professional growth, but you're not in control of their customer base. That's something that they understand better than we understand, and how they have the autonomy to go out and do that. And then there's a reward for their effort. So that seems to work. It's not over prescribed, not over engineered, not over detailed.
So you mentioned the two cases. One is coffee, and what is the other?
It was a pizza making little
Pizza making.
yeah, like a
Restaurant
little tuk tuk. We tried that, and then we realized actually people with a tuk tuk, you need to have a motorbike driver's license. In South Africa, people don't have motorbike driver's licenses. So these are things that we didn't think of before we went and did the program.
Yeah, but I see the bakery business is very popular for the social venture.
Yes, we actually did experiment with that once as well, and yeah, we also weren't particularly successful there. Another project that we were successful with was a nail. We started a business called Amazi, and that was teaching younger women how to do nails, and that became very successful. And that program actually we let go of, and someone else is now running it. And she's grown that program to teach lots of women to become nail technicians. And they've opened up branches there. It's lucrative.
Yeah.
Because once you've had your nails done, you like having them done all the time.
Yes. Repeat customer, right? Repeat customer.
Yes, definitely.
What do you have on top of your mind for the next step?
So our next step, I want to try and experiment with helping our traders grow their customer bases, but not on a level where people are buying local now. So what we found with the lockdown with the Corona story is that people aren't wanting to get on a taxi and go shopping. So our traders have actually been doing quite well. But I still think if you think of the average amount that they spend every month on stock, they could double that. And how do we try and help them connect to a broader network of customers? So I'd like to create a geolocation tool, almost like a store locator, but like a trader locator. So if you're living in a particular community and you want to support your community, you can look on that tool to see who's trading in that community, selling clothing or appliances or whatever it is. So that's something that we really want to explore with. I would like to see if we could open branches in Botswana and Namibia, because our retail partners do have outlets there in those two regions. So I'd like to try that. And I'd like to connect internationally. I'm sure that this model could work in so many places.
I think so.
Yeah. I think the trick is to find the power partner, is to find the retailers that are willing that are brave enough to give it a try. Yeah. But Botswana and Namibia, because it is our retailers, because also what our retailers have realized is that we are a solution for their waste, because they've got their waste merchandise sitting in their receiving bays, taking up space, the logistics around it, moving it. How do they get rid of it?
Yeah.
So we've become more of an operational solution to them than anything else. They can pick up the phone and say, please come and fetch the stock. And we are responsive. We get in the truck and off we go to fetch the stock. So it's become a benefit, an added benefit for them is being able to get rid of that excess merchandise. Because what were they doing? I mean, they can't, with the circular economy conversations around all the time, you can't throw that in the landfill. You can't burn it. What are you going to do with it? And this is a responsible redistribution of all of that excess stock.
I think in other country, if the situation is a little different, for example, they don't have a scorecard, you can think about like a remodel the business model a little bit, and then in order to satisfy all the stakeholder and partners, right? Then can replicate the business model again and again. Okay. Where do you want to see yourself in the next 10 years? Keep doing the same thing.
I've got completely different ideas that I'd like to try and experiment with things. I'd like to be given the sort of carte blanche to be able to do that and try different ideas that we have and see if we can implement them. But it's funny because as you get older, you get a bit more risk averse. It's part of the, because you know what can go wrong. So you've got to manage your thoughts all the time, and just trust and just do and try.
Yes.
So I really wanted to see South Africa turn around. And we can't continue at this level of unemployment. Our crime is crazy. It's really, our crime is very, very high.
That's what I heard. Thank you so much for taking time to join on the show today, sharing the very interesting, amazing story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you for letting us share our story and our journey.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with a friend, and drop me a review. Goodbye.